Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call on our president of the Canadian Council for the Americas, Ken Frankel, who will introduce the president. Ken?
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Before we get started, I don't know how many people need interpretation from my remarks, but 3 is Spanish and 2 is the second channel is English. So for those who will be using that when the president speaks. Ladies and gentlemen, with your indulgence, I want to start with a personal anecdote. My first day at university was September 11th, 1973. Yeah. I was curious about pursuing an interest in Latin America, so I wandered into the office of one of the specialists on campus, a sociology professor. After I barely introduced myself, he cut me off and asked, "Did you hear what happened in Chile today?" I spent the ensuing days trying to get and absorb as much news as I could about the coup. 3 things came out of that meeting. The first was that I would focus on Latin America during my college days. The second is I would never understand what sociologists actually do or say, and I still don't. The third was that Chile would be my reference point. And more importantly, though, Chile became a reference point for the hemisphere and beyond. The region and the world observed and has learned from Chile. What happened in 1973 sparked a new consciousness that elevated human rights and democracy in many corners of the world, became a critical element of foreign policy thinking. It had only previously been considered frivolous to talk about democracy or human rights. These concepts, you didn't talk about them in the salons of realpolitik. Chile changed the foreign policy lexicon. The world learned from Chile's transition to democracy and a new body politic based on compromise. And when Chile recently made the bold step of convoking a constitutional convention to address underlying social discord and inequities, the region admired Chile for betting on itself, for betting on its ability to undertake peaceful and fundamental democratic reform in turbulent times. Canada learned from Chile. Though our first response to the coup was muted, Canada became a critical player in, among other areas, funding think tanks and other centers where Chilean democratic thinkers and actors could convene. Those same thinkers and actors went on to become Chile's leaders when democracy returned, and they never forgot Canada's support. So it's upon this foundation of shared values and trust that Canada and Chile built a broad and deep relationship. Trade and investment between our 2 countries has flourished. Many of Canada's iconic companies have bet significantly on Chile and its people. Canadian companies have invested stock of $31 billion in Chile, making Canada the 2nd largest foreign investor in Chile and the largest in mining. Canadian companies invest in mining, utilities, electricity, gas, water systems, financial services, chemicals, transportation and storage, and in other sectors. We're pleased that representatives from all these sectors are with us here this afternoon. Chile, in turn, has invested $1.1 billion in Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, Chile has begun a new phase in its evolution. President Boric the first president to come of age under restored democratic rule, was elected overwhelmingly to lead it. Once again, Chile is unmistakably the region's reference point. They hope to learn how President Boric, freed from traditional Cold War left-right paradigms, can undertake fundamental reforms to address a restless citizenry, and how to do it in these very complicated economic times. This is every country's challenge right now. President Boric has also shown his new generational approach to foreign policy by his clear opposition to autocrats, regardless of their political stripe. In short, ladies and gentlemen, President Boric's goals and vision for his country sound pretty Canadian to all of us. And so it is no coincidence that President Boric chose to make his first foreign visit outside of South America to Canada. And Canada is eager to welcome His Excellency President Gabriel Boric. I'm honored now to call on you, Mr. President, to address the Council. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I was born in 1986. No offense. And when I was younger, I thought that I had to impeach and defy the people who went in politics before our generation. And I thought for a while, in my 20s, that our generation had to do everything again. Nowadays, I recognize I was wrong, and that one of the main achievements in a society is the talk in between generations, to learn from each other. That a country is not, it's never built from zero, but it always learns from what others did before. And it's true that I'm young, but my country is not. As Canada, we have almost more than 200 years of independent history. And I'm really proud of the leaders that came before me. Not all of them, but most of them. But most of them. And I'm always trying to address the past in order to make better decisions nowadays. I am very pleased to be here discussing and talking about our commercial ties and new ways to move forward into the future. Please excuse me if I make some mistakes in my English, but I'll do my best. As you know, and as you said before, historically, Canadian investment has been very important in our country, in Chile. Actually, nowadays, is the second most important source of foreign direct investment, with important investment in key sectors of our economy like, mining, banking, road concessions, renewable energies, and water. And I really want in this speech and in this getting to know each other that you feel welcome in our country. You keep feeling welcome in our country. Chile, as Canada, is a vast and diverse country, and we are learning to deal with our diversity. We have a lot of natural resources, agricultural land, coasts, such a long coast as Canada, and world-class ports. And we are connected by roads and high-speed broadband, and we are working actually in the humble cable from China. Chile nowadays has to offer a dynamic business ecosystem where innovation is a key. In our government, we are very enthusiastic about promoting collaboration between the public and private sector for a better and more inclusive development on the region. As I said to some of you before upstairs, I really don't know what you might think about me or us or our government, because a lot of things have been said, like we're going to be the next Maduro or stuff like that. That's not true. We really believe in democracy. We really stand up on the respect and human rights, and we are pragmatic in understanding that we need a welfare state, but a welfare state it's not possible without the private sector. And so we need to work on confidence, on building confidence in between each other. That confidence nowadays it's a little bit broken in Chile. And that's one of the problems we have, and that's why we are facing a constitutional process. Because during some years, some decades, the political elite did a lot. We advanced a lot in reducing poverty, in increasing consume, in access to education, but inequality was higher and higher, except during President Ricardo Lagos' presidency, where inequality, we went down in inequality. But that is a harm, that it's a wound that Chile has that we have to face. Because a country that it's not socially compound, that doesn't talk in between each other, has more difficulties to grow. So we firmly believe that the only way to provide a long-lasting and stable claim for investing is by embracing the changes that society demands, with a focus on responsibility and within the rule of law. Some of you might know our Minister of, how do you say Hacienda? Finance. Our finance minister. He was before, he's the former central bank president. And some people on the left told me that, why are you putting Mario Marcel as the finance minister? He's a neoliberal. No, he's not a neoliberal. Mario Marcel, or let me put it this way, as I said in Argentina a few months ago, the economic responsibility and the respect of the good of the fiscal responsibility, it's not a right-wing thing. We have to be fiscally responsible. So we are committed in our country to provide clear, transparent, reliable rules for investment, as we have done in a sustained manner over the few decades. And we want to improve on that. That's why today we are actively coordinating our industrial policy so that the programs, incentives, requirements, and oversight provided by the states will harmonize with partners countries like Canada, and the need of investors. And in order to achieve this goal, we are improving our already region-leading infrastructure, bringing our public education system up to our global standards. We are far away from where we would like to be in public education. And addressing the social, political, and economic inequalities that permeate our society. All of that, we're doing it with focus on fiscal responsibility, as I said, dialogue, and development of our nation. And we understand also that there's no way that we can achieve these goals alone. Chile, it's a country that depends on other countries. Chile is a country very well related to other countries in the world, and we want to keep on that way. We don't want to close our frontiers. We want to expand our frontiers. So our government, why did we won the election? I think that we won because we built a platform of profound transformations, but with stability, with the promise of stability. Because we know that big changes or changes that last, they do not happen from the night to the morning, from one day to another. And these transformations are aimed at overcoming structural inequalities and developing Chile in a sustainable and inclusive way. This is the only way to continue to build a stable society and economic that fosters investment. I know that one of the overreaching goals of my government is to make high-quality public education, as I said, accessible for all, from early childhood to university, because we know that if we invest in education, in innovation, we will be a better country. And one thing that it's completely clear for me and for us, is that in order for our people to be able to make the most of opportunities brought by your companies, the companies that you represent, when you invest in Chile, they need to have an educational background and technical capability that is comparable to what you would expect here in Canada and other developed countries, and we're working hard on that. And in order for your companies to build facilities with confidence in our country, you need to know that there will be an ample and growing supply of capable talent in Chile with the region you want to locate. Also, our infrastructure improvement plan combines transportation, energy, and digital infrastructure to improve reliable access to opportunities in all the regions of our country. We are really committed to strengthen and diversifying the transportation network, not only improving highways, but also in a new and better passenger and free train lines, metros, and interurban electromobility networks. That is important because we will need investment for that. We cannot do it alone from the state. We're also building out 5G broadband connections so that soon they will be reaching every part of the country. And as you know, Chile is a more multicultural country than ever before because we are recognizing the importance of indigenous people, but also because of the migration. We are facing in South America a huge wave of migration because of the Venezuelan crisis. After Syria and now Ukraine, Venezuela is the third biggest phenomenon of migration. And we're receiving that with Colombia and Peru. And we understand that we have to face that phenomenon with a human right view, and that the people that had walked or flew or whatever long distances in order to have better opportunities deserve an opportunity, and we have to treat them as the humans they are. We have never to forget that. I know that as foreign companies, you need to bring people also into our country. And our government has repeatedly stated that we are committed to expediting the turnaround time for paperwork filed with our National Immigration Service, as well as making it easier to declare income for this purpose. We are also committed to transition into a development model that tackles climate change, as I know you are committed to, and confront the effects of with adaptation plans that allow us to grow in a sustainable way. In this pursuit, we are really fortunate to be living in a time of innovation and rapid deployment of technologies that provide solutions which we cannot waste. And Chile has a lot of opportunities. And I would regret myself all my life if during my presidency we don't take the chance. We don't do the better we can to fulfill those opportunities. Actually, we are already leading investments in clean energy projects such as solar and wind power generation. And we want to go further. Chile is in a race now to develop its green hydrogen production capacity, hoping to become the producer with the world's most competitive prices by 2030. And we want to do that talking to the communities in order not to repeat other failed experiences. As you know, the green hydrogen has been labeled the energy of the future, and companies like Engie for France, Siemens from Germany, and Spanish companies Enel, Acciona, and Enegas are already developing projects in our country, and some Canadian firms, they are also developing this energy. Our focus is on the uses of this renewable energy, the development of the alternative sources of obtaining water and ensuring its efficiency and sustainable management. We want to take risks. I want to be very emphatic on this. We are keen to take risks on innovation. And we want the state our government to provide the certainty to investors in order to know that the rules will be clear. As I said here, the Canadian investors have an important role to play in deploying new technologies and innovation that ensures the continued availability on resources in the long term and a collaborative relationship with the community. We've been sharing for 25 years nowadays a formal trade and investment relationships, and I hope we can go deeper on that. The Canada-Chile Free Trade Agreement, it was the first FTA signed by Chile with an industrialized country, and I believe it was the first between Canada and any South American country, and I'm really proud of that. And as you know, trade in agricultural products, metal, and other goods between our two countries exceeded $3 billion annually, and it's distributed bilaterally. It's almost the same investment that we have with the United States. And you know, Canada, it's 38 million people. So you guys have, like, in my opinion, at least, I'm not sure how to say this in English, but a higher view, or you are looking at our country in a better way. The update agreement has formed the basis of the harmonization of regulations and requirements between our countries, and our government is aligned with continuing and fortifying this process. And both phytosanitary and environmental requirements for agricultural products, the respect for traditional production methods, Appellations of origin and nomenclatures, and the addition of a chapter on trade and gender are all aspects of this agreement that have been embraced by Chilean exporting companies and will continue to be supported by our government. The agreement has fostered capacity building and collaborative research on issues of importance to Canada and Chile. And also, the recent cooperation has focused on protected areas, climate change, conservation of shared migratory species, contaminated sites, air quality, environmental informational system, chemical and waste management, indigenous participation in environmental decision making, and greenhouse gas emissions reduction. For our government, foreign investment is a tool for development. It actually represents 40% of annual investment on production and contributes 51.4% of all the internal revenue collected in Chile and generates almost 30% of the permanent jobs in our country. So we want to take care of it. We want to treat it well. But the way to treat it well is, and I want to ask for or demand that the standards that you apply for your companies here in Canada are the same standards you use in Chile. Because I know that way we are going to get along much better. Not only in between governments or in a lunch like this, but with communities, which is at the end the most important things. We're working for our people. Invest Chile, which is the government foreign investment promotion agency, is working today to support projects from Canadian companies that are worth $2.6 billion. And this, in my opinion, shows that Canadian companies are confident in Chile, and I'm really grateful of that. It also reveals how important you are for our country. Our goal, and the reason of why I'm here, is to create a platform where foreign investment and Chilean business engage in supply chains and boost our country's competitiveness, not only with the region, but also globally. As you know, we in Chile now, and as you in Canada, have a lot of things that the world needs now. Lithium, copper, renewable energies, and also, and not least important, democracy, respect for human rights, tolerance to diversity. And that it's important to say, because as we've seen in the past few months with the war in Ukraine or with some dictatorships here in our continent, we have to defend democracy and we have to value it. I would love to hear from you and your perspective and desires about investing in Chile and the future of our partnership. And I want to say again, welcome to our country. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, it's sure. President Boric, all our highest VIPs, we always want them to leave with a good memory of their time with the Canadian Council. And for all of them, we buy artwork by indigenous women from Cape Dorset in Nunavut, which is north, like very, very north. And this one is called Abundant Sea, Mar Abundante.
Thank you very much.
So this morning you met with Prime Minister Trudeau. Anything you talked about that we might find interesting?
Well, of course, I don't know your opinion on Mr. Trudeau, but I have a good one. He was very, very emphatic in in saying the importance on the leadership that we can have in our continent, because nowadays, as you know, the world is changing really fast, and let me put an example for you. When we condemned the invasion of Russia to Ukraine, some of the countries nearby Chile weren't quite confident or weren't quite convinced to condemn that. But I think that when we did it, we pushed a little towards the respect of democracy and integrity of the territory. And when a leader from really the northern or one of the northern countries in the world as Canada, and one of the southern countries in Chile, we both are kind of young. We share values. I think it's good not only for our people but for democracy in the world, and that's we talk a lot about that. We also talked about the importance that because of the war, Europe, and not only Europe, other countries are raising or trying to not to depend on Russian minerals, oil, gas, and stuff. And in that context, we have a big opportunity to make it well. And we have to work together on that, private and public sector.
Thank you. Was he wearing colorful socks, by the way? He's usually wearing
The red socks?
Did you notice?
Yeah, I
Okay,
noticed.
good, okay.
Very stylish, yeah. It blinded my eyes.
Yeah, sorry. You're thinking about particularly Russia, as you just mentioned, and in the remarks I made about freed from sort of Cold War thinking of left and right paradigms on how you solve approaches. Some people think of you and have hope in you as a voice of a new left in Latin America, as distinguished from an old left in Latin America. Do you see that distinction? And if so, do you see yourself in that role?
Well, I don't like the qualificative, the qualification of new, because not all the new things are good, you know? There's no virtue in new things just per se. So I try to learn a lot from the past. And I'm a left, my political principles are from the left, and I'm really, and I've learned from the mistakes and from the things that the people who went before me did well. But there are some civilizatory advances that cannot be put in question. For example, the respect of human rights, or the importance of democracy, and that democracy it's better than any kind of authoritarianism. Or some would say liberal thoughts, but I think that that's not an insult. Like the independence of powers, or the free of the press. I totally advocate for that. So I am new, I am old, I don't really care. I stand for those principles that I think that are civilizatory advances. And I think that the one thing that has made a lot of damage to the left ideas is the double standard. If the dictator is a friend of mine, well, he's not that dictator. And if he's violating human rights of people that disagree with me, well, that's not that bad. I totally disagree with that. And I think that in Latin America, not only Latin America, in our continent, we have a lot of topics that unite us. As we were talking in gender equality, renewable energies, indigenous rights. And so we have to stop making the only topic that we have in Latin America or in our continent, Venezuela and Cuba. It's not the only topic that we have. We have a lot of other things to talk about. And I think we can, with Canada, we can work on that a lot.
Thank you. If there are any questions, we have one. While I'm wait for them, you made a very eloquent statement before about recognizing contributions of the past, and you said it several times. Not everything new is great, and not everything bad is bad. Thank you, Marta. In your past, you've been at times on the receiving end of the force of the state, police power, and the like. And you mentioned in your speech that your thinking has evolved on a number of things. You're now in the situation where you control the levers of force in the state. Well, one would hope. And there are situations, like, for example, in the south of Chile, but others that you will be dealing with. Has your thought about the use of state power changed since you become president?
No, not at all. Not at all. Actually, I was, as you said, I was a former, I am a former student leader. And my political formation was in streets, in not fighting against cops, but in assemblies, in demonstrations, organization, a lot of discussion, and sometimes fighting against cops. But every country needs a police. Every country needs a police that is legitimated towards people. So if you break the rules, if you break the law, you have to face the law and the police. And that is pretty obvious for me. And the police has the obligation of respecting human rights. So there shouldn't be a change in between how I see the way that the state use force, whether I'm a protester or whether I'm in power, in office. Because the grace of democracy is that rules shall apply for all. That is not how it has always been, at least in my country. That maybe in Canada it's something weird to hear. Oh, well, you have the States, the United States,
we've had a few issues.
Yeah, you have a few issues. Well, but you don't. The use of the force cannot be arbitrary. Is right? Arbitrary. So no. I believe, and I still believe in social organization, in big unions, in the student movement, in social. The way that the history advanced is when people organize themselves. And I cannot forget why we are here in office now. We are here because of the protests, and we're trying to do the best. We're giving the best of us to build a more equal country with the respect of the law.
Thank you. I see there's some very good questions here, and I will integrate them as I can. I think some of them, we've talked a bit about democracy and Chile and democracy, but maybe I will see if there's something here, a point that you didn't touch upon. But I want to change for a second. Jose Miguel Humala, a friend of ours, and a senior person in your government. Now, we did an event with him on his book on the Nordic model and the application.
I presented it also.
I know.
I presented it.
I know you were. Yeah. In fact, yeah, he was going to be we've done events with him. He's wonderful. And we know this is that admire the Nordic model. What aspects of it do you think are realistic to accomplish in the next 4, 8, 10 years? What aspects particularly?
First of all, conversation. First of all, conversation. You know, well, I don't think that you can copy a model. And the Nordics, I actually feel a little bit sick when they say, I want to be like Finland. No, we're so different from Finland. We have another culture, we have another way of treating each other. In South America, at least, we are like more hacks, and we touch more ourselves, we dance more.
We have the Norwegian ambassador here today, by the way. Yes,
I said Finland. I said Finland. So I don't want to be exactly like them, but there are a lot of things of the Nordic model that that we can learn from. Dialogue between big industries and big unions is something that we don't have, or we have not enough in Chile. I would like to actually present you. I'm with another member of our committee, that is Mr. Juan Sutil, that is over there. He's the representative of the big companies in Chile, the Confederation of Production and Commerce in Chile. And we're trying, we think very different with Mr. Juan. But we're trying to build confidence, because we know that it doesn't matter, or if we unite over some goals of development and more equal growth, we will do better as a country. That's why we're trying to talk more. We have had some fights in the past, but nowadays we're trying to compound, and I think that's one of the main lessons of the Nordic model: the talks between the big unions and the companies. Also, the innovation and investment in education. In Chile, one of the main problems that I think we have in Chile is that what should be social rights as education, health care, and social security are private. Almost, if you want to have a good access to health, you have to pay a lot. If you want to have a good education, you have to pay, and so on and so on. And so the building of a welfare state, it's a thing that we need to learn from that model. But that was in another time. That was after World War II, and the world has changed a lot. So we cannot just look to the past. We have opportunities ahead of us in the future. In all the themes, the topics that we've been talking to, and we have to be able to find our path, and that means that we have to take risks, and we are willing to take risks and to share risks and benefits of the risk with the private sector.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a few questions here that are the same thing as I mentioned earlier. Let me try and frame it this way. You're on your way to the Summit of the Americas. Particularly thank you for spending this time with us and here for less than a day in Canada, or a full day, I suppose, but not a night. There's been a lot of controversy about who should get invited to the Cumbre, to the Summit of the Americas. I know Chile was of the view that every country should be invited. Do you want to talk about that and how that plays into your idea of trying to create democratic dialogue in countries where there's not a lot of democratic dialogue now?
Yeah, I would love that not to be the main topic of the summit in LA. But my position on that is that when you try to isolate countries like Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, you reinforce them. And you have to hear them. We don't want to go there because that's the meeting of the big imperialism and all the adjectives that they like to use a lot. And it's, for me at least, it's much better to talk to them and to say, hey, Mr. Ortega, you dictatorship of Nicaragua, free. You have to free the prisoners, the political prisoners that you have. And I want to say that in his face. I won't have another space, another context to talk to him. So when the United States decided to not invite them, I think that we're losing an opportunity that all democratic countries tell them firmly that we have to work on more democracy. And also, I'm not the guy like to give lessons to anybody, because in Chile we have had also our big problems too. You know, for international agencies, I mean, UN, la Comisión Interamericana, the Human Rights Watch, told us that we were violating human rights a few years ago. So we have a lot to work on in between our boundaries also. But I want to learn from other experiences, and I want to be able to tell Venezuela, Cuba, of course Nicaragua, that they have to improve on that. For example, Venezuela is going to have elections on November of 2023, I think. We have to work on assuring that those elections are going to be democratic, and the opposition have all the rights they need and all the spaces they deserve to present their point of views. But it's more difficult to do that if we're not talking to them. The process, for example, that Colombia had between the FARC and the state of Colombia, it came to an end, or they're working on that, when they talked, or when other countries helped. The same our experience in Chile. We are so grateful of the aid that a lot of foreign countries gave us during the dictatorship of Pinochet. So I think the isolation, it's not the way that we can help the people on the countries that are suffering.
Do you feel Chile can take an active or leadership role in trying to create that space?
We are willing to. We are willing to, and we are available, knowing that in these things, I think you also have to be very humble, because if you like feel like some prophet and said democracy is this, and you have to act like I say, they won't listen. And the thing in these issues, for me at least, is it's not how are you going to feel better about what you said in a public speech, is how the people in the countries that they are suffering can be better. And that's with more talk, maybe with more silenced talk, not big declaration, big statements in the press, and using like big words, but working with the people that need help now.
How concerned are you about the rise of the radical right throughout the world?
I'm really concerned about that. But not only the radical right, I'm concerned about intolerance. And intolerance is in all specters of the political circle. The thing about the alt-right movements is that, well, I think you've been having some of that in Canada
Yes.
In the last months. It's like they don't believe in facts, so it's really hard to argue with them. And when you cannot argue on facts, violence, it's like the only way, and we don't want to we don't want to go on violence. So I think the way to confront that is with more organization. It's with actually the one of the things we talked with Mr. Trudeau was, okay, we have to have an agenda on indigenous rights, LGBTQ movements. We have to have an agenda on gender equality, on protecting oceans, renewable energy. But we also, and really important, we have to have an agenda on middle class. Like assuring that the middle class nowadays, when the cost of living is going higher because of the inflation, for example, we have to do some policies that are responsible in fiscal terms, but in order to protect the families, because we cannot have just our policies cannot be just for little groups. We have to think of the whole society.
Thank you. I don't want to abuse your time. I'm mindful that we've gone into it.
Yeah, I'm
What
really.
time? I just have one. Oh.
No. Let me. I feel a little bit frustrated because I know that. I hope that you are understanding what I'm saying. I cannot go like deeper in the things I would like because my English is not enough for the reflections. So don't think I'm stupid.
No, that was. I just want to give you one opportunity before you leave. Several years ago, I don't know, Marta, was 4 or 5 years ago, we welcomed President Bachelet in Toronto to an event much like this. I complimented her on Chile's winning twice in a row the South American Football Championship. You know that Canada has qualified for the first time since 1986, so I'm just giving you an opportunity to congratulate Canada.
Congratulations, Canada. You know, that hurts a lot because, well, we're actually waiting for the decision of the FIFA about Byron Castillo and stuff. I follow some sports, some sportsmen and women from Canada. Kelsey Mitchell, I think, is one of them. She's a cyclist here in Canada, has won a lot of gold medals. So I know that you have a lot of big standard in sport. So congratulations on your achievements.
Well, and on behalf of the council and everybody here, thank you very much for your time and very crowded agenda. Thank you very much.